Hi, everyone. This is Raquel.
Hi, and this is Jennifer.
Welcome to Madness Cafe.
This is a feminist podcast where we talk about women's issues, politics, and health and wellness.
And where those issues intersect. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Madness Cafe. Today, Jennifer and I are joined by Sylvester Pierce of SPierce Consulting. He is a certified CPR, first aid, and trauma firearms instructor. And one thing that it says on his website is, and I'm just going to read this directly from the website because I think this is important to know. It says, what we do. We have funneled our classroom, course, practical, and real-world experience into easily followed instruction that is specific, yet malleable enough to fit individual needs. Basically, we help you understand that the only person coming to save you is you. So know what to do and how to do it. Sylvester, welcome to Madness Cafe.
Thank you all so much for having me. That was a beautiful reading. Thank you.
I am so excited to have you as a guest because this topic is something that I know very little about and feel like as a woman and as a mother of two young women, I should and would like to know more. Tell us your story and how did you get started doing this?
I started with a company called Black Packers at first. That was something that my brother and I put together. And we started it because of Hurricane Katrina and then the snowpocalypse that we had here in Atlanta. And the different emergencies that were happening throughout the country showed us that certain people would get help, certain wouldn't.
Right.
The biggest thing that we saw, though, was people who were stuck in these situations were often stuck there because they were waiting for help from police, fire, EMT, government, somebody else. Instead of there being I know what to do, or I have the resources to do it, so I'm going to go ahead and start work. That's how I started with my training. I hike a lot, I kayak a lot, I'm outdoors a lot. I saw the parallelism of being outdoors and being homeless. You're making as much happen as possible with the least amount of equipment. Then I started riding a bus and seeing moms handle 2-3 children at one time with one bag. You do all this with just one bag, and you're getting on off the bus. The physical endurance, the patience, the mental stability, and also the resourcefulness and resiliency started making the classes be more adaptive. Then realizing that every person is different. So if you can get a course together, don't get something that's so concrete and strict. Get something that, as one of my instructors says, I'm not teaching you what to do. I'm teaching you to think on how to do it.
That's key. And you actually mentioned this in a lot of different points on your website. It's community.
I think every person in the community, like every person in the family, has their part to play. And either you are dragging the community down because all the resources that are there are being used to you without you feeling some kind of void that's needed, or you're in some way saying, where can I fit in and what can I do? A phrase I use in classes is everyone can always do something. That's one of the principles for Kwanzaa, which just passed. You don't always have to be the person that has the best idea or be the smartest. You might be the person that drives that person who has the best idea to the store, or gives that $5 to somebody who knows how to make the best meal. But play your part in making the results happen.
That's so cool. You're doing a lot of work with women. Is it solely women, or do you offer classes for both? And what is the focus for women?
I offer self-defense classes in general. I think any person that is being attacked by someone who wants to hurt them unjustly needs to be able to defend themselves from it. That's a base, very clear, happy statement. I specifically work with women because most of the attacks that are on women are from men. And most of the women that I work with start with the idea that I can't do anything once I'm attacked. The self-defense classes for women start with, you are in no way going to just sit there and be a victim. You are in no way less than the person that's attacking you. And whatever mindset you have to get into to be on the other side of that situation, we're going to get into that mindset right now. So let's start going through what to do to get there.
Can you give us an idea of what it takes for someone to get in that mindset?
Everything starts with prevention. I'll go a further step than that. the first part of that mindset is men understanding that women are not there to be attacked. In my classes with men, that is the first thing I say. We wouldn't have to have these classes if men weren't attacking women.
Yes.
So let's talk to our sons, let's talk to ourselves, let's talk to our fathers. Even the smallest things as, oh, man, my wife won't cook for me, I'll just beat her up until she does. No, that's not a
Mhm.
joke. That's not something we're going to say. And we're not going to laugh at it. We're going to correct it now. It starts there. Then it goes into, what do I need to do to not be in a position to be attacked? And the first 15, 20 minutes of class, when someone comes in with their gym gear on and they're ready to start moving around and sweating, I'm like, okay, who checked the doors when they came in? Who looked around their car before they got out? Who made sure that they weren't having their phone down texting to tell somebody, hey, I just got to class? Like, what do we do to make sure that we are not in a position to be attacked from anyone?
Mm.
Then we go into the am I physically ready? When I say physically ready, most fights last 3 minutes. 3 minutes of the most intense, someone's trying to hurt me, I need to protect myself, that goes on. So are you physically able to just stay alive for 3 minutes? On the jobs that you do, a lot of us do, and it's including myself, I work out for vanity's sakes. I want to look good, quote unquote, at some point with my body. But if I can't use that same body to push someone off of me, to run from someone, then what are all these workouts doing? The rest of that mindset is, and I hear it from women and only from women, I don't want to hurt anyone. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. You want to hurt someone because your life, your mental state, your children's lives, you being okay with that trip you've been planning to go on next year starts right now because someone else feels you're not worthy of it. And you're not trying to prove it to them, you're proving it to yourself. That's where that mindset starts.
That's a good way to put that, that you're proving that to yourself, not to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Like that we have to get over that societal, oh, we want to be nice, we don't want to hurt anybody, we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. I mean, we have to get over that societal expectation that we've all been indoctrinated with.
Indoctrination is the perfect word. I use conditioning in the wrong context. Indoctrinated is the word I'm going to be using from now on. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much for saying that about we have to start with men and really expressing the fact that stop, don't hurt women. And then also, I'm really curious about this because you are our first single man on the podcast. We're really excited about it because we are.
Thank you.
Because we are a feminist podcast. A lot of men are kind of turned off by that. Do you consider yourself a feminist? And if so, why? And if you don't, that's okay too. And why not?
I've heard the definition of being a feminist, or definition of a feminist, change so many times.
Yeah.
And I've heard it used to the advantage of whomever was speaking at that time as well. I think Bell Hooks just passed a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And she was considered the feminist of feminists whenever I heard, especially amongst Black women. And whenever I heard the term feminist growing up, it was always hate men, hate men, hate men, women's on top. Right. And then reading her works and seeing how much she loved community and she loved men and she loved the union of humans, I was like, oh, this might be a little different. Would I call myself a feminist? I'm going to say yes, in the context of I'm going to look at the feminine energy, the women and people who identify themselves as female, and look at their best interests and how I don't impede their progress. And if I can do that, I will consider myself a feminist.
That is an amazing explanation and supporting reason for that. So thank you for putting that out there. And hopefully other men will hear that and think, oh, that applies to me too, or that's something that I want to aspire to. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Part of your self-defense is focused around guns. There's a lot of controversy in this country about gun ownership and gun safety and gun laws, and it can go on and on. And again, blank slate here. I know nothing. I've only held a gun in my hand twice. What's your position on gun safety for women?
Everything with a firearm starts with safety first. Every week there's a child in Georgia killed. Well, I've seen killed by firearms in the home
Mm.
from someone playing with it, from negligence. There's never an accidental discharge. It's always negligence. With women, a gun can be an equalizer of sorts.
Mhm.
Defending yourself properly in the situation, and then when need be, using that gun as a tool to defend yourself as one other option, which it should always be your last option, then it can be something that equalizes. Understanding the laws of where you are and where you live and with each state, because it changes with each state. Some places allow you to do a shot through a door, some don't. Black woman who just got out of jail because she decided to shoot a warning shot before she was going to engage her attacker, who had been abusive for years. Understanding gun safety would have let her know that that shot could have hit someone else, and she ended up being put in jail because of the shot that was basically a discharge that could have killed someone. In just the context of women with guns, understand, one, there is no woman gun, there is no girl gun. If anyone tries to sell you a girl gun, just walk away and go to someone else. Training is paramount. It does go boom. It is loud. You are going to, at some point, put a hole through your target once you start actually training. So don't be intimidated by the idea of I don't even want to use the word, but the machismo that comes with guns. The I'm a bigger person and I'm stronger because of the gun. No, you become the better person when you have the safety, which is why I'm so glad you said it first, and the training that goes along with it. From there, having the gun, the firearm, whichever one you want to use, knowing when to use it in the engagement is what will keep you, one, safe from the attack, and also not being put in jail after you have defended yourself properly.
I have two totally separate questions from this, but one I'm going to start with. You had a quote on your Instagram that said, "The laws for everyone are the same, but the rules are not. Law enforcement does not have to live by or face the same consequences that civilians face. My way of healing and managing stress is training and education. Come heal with me." Tell us more.
In the African American community, the first gun laws were created to keep weapons. Well, the first weapons laws were created to keep weapons out of the hands of African Americans after the end of slavery. Knives, machetes, scythes, all those things were tools that were used, but they were also able to kill someone. When slavery ended, when the enslavement of people ended, the law was made so that these same folk who had been raped and killed could not then take these weapons and say, well, you were the person doing it. So the law happened there. That law didn't stay with everyone. Even with law enforcement now, I think a young lady was killed, a week ago, inside of a dressing room while trying to hide from an attacker.
A 14-year-old.
A 14-year-old girl in a store doing what 14-year-old girls do in stores was shot by a round. Then that officer, and with every other negligent discharge from an officer, has been said, well, I was defending myself or I was defending someone. We civilians don't get that same luxury.
Right.
I'll go so far as to say we don't even get the luxury of not having a firearm and then being engaged by law enforcement, because they are able to use their guns to defend whatever law they feel is being broken. When I say the training and healing that comes with it, knowing that you have this tool that shoots a projectile faster than most of us can see, and that a hole will be put wherever that bullet lands. But you've gotten confident enough within yourself to know that I'm not going to engage unless it is my last choice, unless someone is trying to rape me, they're trying to kill someone I love, they're trying to kill someone in my family, they're trying to kill me. I'm at peace with myself enough to know that once I engage in this, I'm going to actually be defending myself. Law enforcement doesn't have to do that. So in class, especially when I have my classes with women, if you're going to buy this gun, and it's the first question I ask everyone in there, why are you taking this class? Well, my husband beats me. Well, the problem isn't the gun that you're going to have. It's your husband beating you. I don't say that because that's not my place to say. But if you're going to go buy this gun now, and we know that the reason you're getting it is because someone is beating you, that I'm giving you training to kill someone, for an action that we could possibly take another route on. When I say we, the United States just put 2 officers in jail for shooting someone.
Right.
And it took years for that to happen. The rules are different. I'm speaking to 2 feminists now, to women right now. It's different when a officer approaches y'all. When you're talking to them,
Yeah.
you have to know how to play that game with them. That's all.
What is your advice for me if an officer is approaching me? How do I play that game? I'm interested in that. I don't know the rules.
2 things I do with myself. I humbly remind myself that I am no longer in control of the situation. I'm not. I've gotten pulled over by an officer. I'm going to stick with the assumption that this person pulled me over because I've made some infraction of the law, and they're there to give me a ticket. That's where my head is. That's where I'm staying. Hello, officer person. How are you? Do I need to give a ticket? They give me a ticket. I go home. Even if I'm not supposed to get that ticket, that is not my time to tell them why I don't like law enforcement, why America's corrupt, why they killed Trayvon and everyone else, and it shouldn't have happened that way. It's not the time for
Right.
it. I can say all that in court. I can even say that, hey, I wasn't speeding in court. The only thing I have to do is take that piece of paper and go home. You
Right.
always just want to go home. That may be the most humbling, demeaning, I should have done better for myself time. I will sit on my couch and cry about it while I'm at home and alive. The other way of engaging is when you are still in I'm going to say humble stance, but still understanding that I'm still a human being. That doesn't mean you have the option to disrespect me. So wherever you are living, what do you know about your laws and what can you use to your defense? If you are uncomfortable, it is perfectly fine to keep your hands visible at all times and say, would you please send another officer? I would love to speak to your supervisor. This has nothing to do with you. I just want to be more comfortable. There is nothing wrong with having your cell phone on when officer comes up. Hey, this whole thing is being recorded right now, just like you have engaged your recording device properly, right? Okay, good. What can I do for you? I'm not here to attack. I am always going to defend myself. I've spoken with officers and we've laughed about it that I'm going home. Like it really is an ongoing joke, but if you all decide to engage with me, I'm going to engage with you. And my goal is to make it home. But with law enforcement, whether it be the state patrol, even security sometime, it's just like, look, what you need me to do so we can both go home tonight? Because I'm sure neither of us want to be where we are right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Right.
Did that answer your question? I can start talking about other stuff sometimes.
No, I feel like it totally answered it.
Mm-hmm.
I can see how that is very different situation for a person of color, but I also think that women in general are also at risk and may not really realize that.
I'm glad you said that. I never stop in a dark place by myself.
Smart.
I will happily turn my flashes on, reduce my speed, call 911 while I'm driving. There's an officer behind me. I'm on Sesame Street right now. I'm going to stop at the Chevron on Sesame Street. Please let them know. I am not trying to leave.
That's smart. That's very smart. I hadn't thought about that.
You have just as much of an option to call the police on the police as they do to stop you. In Atlanta, that's where I live. We had some people impersonate officers, and they would pull up behind cars and get out in a uniform. And when you got out in a uniform and you're in a dark corner, on some street that you haven't turned down before, there's no way out of that situation. I have no problem pulling over in traffic. I will pull over into a Walmart parking lot where there are cameras and lights, and I will make sure there's other people that see me. We got phones and everybody wants to record things. Please do. Please record everything that's happening right now because I know I'm not in the wrong. So whatever's here, hopefully can be used for me. But I'm also, and this is hard to say sometimes, I'm also not assuming that the officer is looking at me as a threat. I'm also not stupid enough to think that they feel my life matters as much as theirs. My last tidbit on this, most of my firearms classes doesn't involve shooting when we're there actually training. It's interesting. Philando Castile was killed while he was reaching to show the officer that he had his legal carry permit. 2 things that happened in that is he was not following the direction of the officer because He wasn't told to reach for anything. The other thing was he assumed that the officer cared about his life. The officer cared about their life. And right now you're not doing what I want you to do. Therefore, you're a threat.
Right.
It may have gone differently.
I think it's important what you said about keeping those two thoughts in your head. Don't assume that they see you as a threat, but don't assume that they consider your life to be as important as their own. You have to be of two minds when you're in this situation.
You do. Whatever that 10, 15-minute stop is right there, I'm telling myself, tomorrow I'm going to be at home at work. I'm going to be doing something else. I'm not going to be worried about this officer. What do you need me to do to get out of this right now? That's it.
You've mentioned laws a few times. So I want to go back a little bit to a question that Jennifer brought up a little bit ago about the different laws and things like that. I want to get your take on the current atmosphere around guns and gun ownership, with everybody, oh, I want to have a whole arsenal at home. So I want to get your take on that, as well as your take on proposed gun control legislation. So if you could talk to those issues a little bit, I'd really love to know your opinion about that, considering that you yourself are teaching people about gun safety. And I'm assuming you are a gun owner.
I am. I'm a gun owner. I don't put 2A or proud gun owner on that. I have the most efficient way to protect myself that science can give us right now. If there was another way to do it, I'd be using that one. Gun legislation involves a bunch of money and a bunch of control. Period. Who is allowed to have guns? Because every person that involves themselves with gun legislation is protected by people who have firearms. All of the hot topics of who should and who shouldn't have a gun, and that's what I call gun control, comes up whenever there's a shooting or a unfortunate, and I do mean unfortunate, despicable school shooting. And it's okay, how did they get a gun? They shouldn't have a gun. We should get all guns away from them. No one should have these things. It never comes up in a police shooting, ever. The police shoots an unarmed person and no one says anything about, why does that officer have a gun? Who trained them to do this? Because cops should have guns as far as our government is concerned. The problem with when the legislation starts is it doesn't say, how are we going to protect the people who don't have guns? Because law-abiding citizens are going to say, oh, we can't have our guns anymore. You're coming to pick them up? Okay, that's the law, right? And you all have my best interest in mind. Here's my gun.
Right.
No person that cares about the law is going to do that at all. So the people who are abiding are going to be the ones that are now defenseless. Because in a situation with a gun and there's enough distance, I promise you, the person with the biggest gun and knows how to use it is going to win. The United States spends billions of dollars on the military for that one reason. I want to say biggest gun, the one with the gun, but the one without one doesn't have a way to shoot back. I wish I could trust the people in the legislature. Let me say that. With any law, if you're not taking into account the people who it's going to affect, you're making them to benefit yourself. And as long as there are gun manufacturers who are being paid by police and military in order to get more weapons, then why would it ever benefit the civilians who are going to be using them?
So do you think every household should have a gun?
I think every household should have access to one and know how to use one properly and safely. I don't tell everyone to get a gun. I tell everyone to know how to use it. Everyone doesn't have it in themselves. And when I say in themselves, they would really just leave it up to police, to God, to the universe to protect them in the few seconds that they need to be protected when someone attacks them. I feel you should use those same qualities from the universe, from God, from any laws that we have that benefit you to say, well, I can have that access and can protect myself in the meantime, right? That's what I'm going to do.
Only problem I see with that is, and I'm not against that at all. Again, I'm not a gun owner. I don't know anything. I'm coming from a place of really trying to learn. But I look at the police officers who have their gun training. I don't know how much gun training they have, but it seems to me like they make so many mistakes with the guns, right? They're shooting people they're not supposed to shoot. They're what was that woman who said she reached for her gun
Hmm.
instead of the taser, if anybody believes that. So if everybody has a gun and there's access to them, are we going to see a lot more mistakes? I mean, even if you had the best training in the world, how often do you have to train in order to become very proficient, to really know what you're doing, to be safe, to not leave it accessible to children or the neighbor's children? Or that's my big fear around guns, is not that I can't learn to use one and be successful, but that I had a training 5 years ago. Now someone's attacking me. Do I even know what to do with that gun? And do I accidentally shoot myself or one of my kids instead?
Good
I don't
point.
know.
You ever seen a F1 course? The race car drives with the little short cars, and they drive real fast,
Sure.
travel
Yeah.
around the world doing it. They're amazing drivers, like 200 miles an hour going around corners. Amazing drivers. They're the
Yeah, I
best
get
in the world,
scared going
literally.
85.
Right.
Right.
You wouldn't use those skills, however, for what they were trained to do on a highway with us.
Right.
Right.
We're not driving 200 miles an hour. Most of us shouldn't be going over 80
Right.
at all.
I said I got scared at
We don't have
85.
exactly, and I in 85 is getting worse where I live.
Right.
So the way they're trained to do what they do in their profession with their skills, with their equipment, doesn't translate into what happens in our world.
Yeah.
Right.
Police officers are not trained to defend themselves. They're trained to shoot threats. That's
Gotcha.
it. They're
Oh,
trained to find a threat, to say, this threat right now, I've determined from my training and my ideas and my personal beliefs as well that this person died for what they just did.
Mm.
Person deserves because they broke a law. And most times they're not doing what I want them to do, so I'm going to shoot them. Not only am I going to shoot them, I've been trained to shoot them to kill them. So once I kill them, I've also been trained to know what to say, how to act, and what to do once I've killed that person.
Mm.
That's their training. We pay for it.
Mm.
You
So
will, every time there's a shooting, go ahead.
so they need not necessarily gun training. They need training in how to really recognize a true and legitimate threat.
Which is what civilians are supposed to do. We're supposed to say, this person who's running at me right now screaming, are they coming at me? Am I confident that I can make this shot from where I'm standing and not miss them? Because if I miss them, I might hit that person behind them.
Right.
Are my kids behind me right now? And these are things that start going through class, because if I miss them and they get to me, are my kids going to watch me get butchered by this person? Oh man, that person was running from a dog. There was a dog behind them, and they were running and screaming with a stick because they were trying to get a dog off of them. And I just shot them. Guess where I'm going?
Wow.
Because I just murdered an innocent person.
Right.
This is what we're supposed to do, because
Mm.
this is how we as civilians are looked at by the same government. I think we opened up about how does law enforcement get looked at as far as civilians and what we do.
Mhm.
Part of our healing and training is I'm not going to look at every person as a threat. I'm not going to see a bearded white guy with a Confederate flag on his shirt and feel that since he sees me, he wants me dead. I'm not. I'm going to think that I should respect your ideas and your views, and as long as they stay over there and don't interact with mine at all, then I'm okay.
That's a huge
We're
jump
good.
for some people to make, though.
Yeah.
You know what? I've reached that. The difference when I said that part, I was thinking of what happened at the Capitol last year,
Mhm.
January last year,
Mhm.
and the idea that these people can run into a federal building with sticks with the intent
Mhm.
to hurt, with records and records of evidence of what they're planning to do, and nothing happened to them.
Yeah.
That directly shows how law enforcement is supposed to look at different groups of people.
Yeah.
Well,
And
Raquel and I have talked about this a lot in terms of that type of racism. I didn't really realize that existed, that systematic racism, until Raquel and I started doing a deep dive. But are you telling me that those police officers are specifically trained that way in their training to go into that job? They're trained to look at different groups differently?
I'm saying that part of the training is who is and who isn't a criminal.
Ah,
Mhm.
gotcha.
Mhm.
So when you not only have been taught through your entire life that certain groups of people are criminals,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and then you are now taught that your law protects you, and your job is telling you, hey, protect the law at all costs. Who are you protecting the law from?
Mhm.
Criminals. Well, who's a criminal? It's not me. It's not
Right.
my friends. It's not the neighborhood I live in. It's them. And I say them because one of the easiest ways to change a person's idea of a group of people is to say, well, there's them and there's us.
Mhm.
Right.
Them and us automatically says you and I have something in common that they and them won't. I'll let you figure out this. And then those lines start being drawn and those lines start being broadened. And once they get drawn and broadened, it becomes you're a threat to me. Why? Because of your existence. And if
Mhm.
you exist and I have the power for you to not exist, then I'll use it when I can. That's what I'm saying the training is. Is this all law enforcement? Definitely not. God, it isn't. I've trained with, I know some amazing officers. I hate that when we're speaking, they have to say, I'm at work and I'm making sure that the person I work with doesn't do anything because I have to protect the law and my people. He just has to determine if you broke a law or not.
I know we're talking a lot about guns,
Hmm.
and that's a very important part of the discussion. There are people who aren't comfortable either carrying a gun or owning a gun. So, are there other sources that they can use
Yes.
to protect themselves to maybe carry with them so that they
I
feel safer?
yes, and in class, just from my own chagrin, I never call my gun a weapon.
Okay.
It's not.
Okay.
It's semantics. I understand it is semantics, but a weapon is something that is designed to hurt somebody else, and I have the intention of hurting you with it.
Okay.
I'm training with this tool. It doesn't become a weapon until you give me a reason to defend my life.
Okay.
In your purse, when you're walking, your cell phone is probably in it.
Yeah.
You probably got an ink pen in there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, any makeup cases or anything
Of course.
or something like it.
Sure.
Gotcha. All of those things are harder than your skin. Every last one of those things is harder than your skin.
Okay.
If you put it against your skin hard enough, it's going to split. Your skin will give, especially against a bone, before your cell phone, your makeup case, or your ink pen does.
Okay.
All of those can become weapons immediately when you need to defend yourself.
Okay.
You are the weapon.
Mhm.
You are. Your fingernails, your earrings, your glasses. I mean, these are things that once you go against soft flesh like eyes, nose, ears, lips, I think it takes like 5 pounds of pressure to tear an ear off.
Wow.
Ooh,
That sounds very gruesome, but
it
I
does.
mean, think of if need be, there's an attacker close to you. You realize that this fight is going downhill, but you can grab an ear and twist and pull as hard as you can. Their ear is going to come off. Period.
Wow.
Is that gonna stop them? Their ear comes off, or is that just gonna enrage them worse?
So I'm glad you said it that way. With your eyes, your nose, and your mouth, one thing we do is move away from pain. Unless you've been trained to move through pain, one of the first things we do as human beings is something hurt me, let me stop doing it, let me get away from it. Right now, if an eyelash fell in either of our eyes, we would stop and start doing all this numbers and everything.
Mhm.
Right.
Imagine what you would do if someone took their fingers and went across your eyes as hard as they can.
Right.
Your eyes are extremely sensitive. And one of the first things you will do is cover them and get away from the person that's trying to do it. I mean, that is hurting you.
Give you the opportunity to run.
Thank you. So I don't want anyone to sit and engage in a fight. I want to fight over or I want you to leave. If you come to class and you want to sit there and go 5 rounds, roll around on the floor, this is the wrong class for you. I'm sorry. I'm not fighting someone that long. The more time you give to any person in a fight, the better the chances are of them winning. There's a rule of three. One of the first things I was taught. Yeah, 3 minutes, 3 feet, and 3 people. Most cowards won't just attack a woman. They will have their buddy with them, and they'll have you in some kind of space where they're either funneling you to an attack, or the other friend is egging them on while they're trying to do whatever it is they should not be doing. You're the third person. So if you can get that number down to 1-on-1, or start screaming for help so that now you have more numbers than they do, it changes things.
Right.
3 feet is, if you can keep that distance longer than 3 feet, 5 feet, 10 feet away, even keeping things between you during an attack, then you have more time and you have more options. 3 minutes, end that fight as quickly as possible, or extend it to the point that's in your favor. The attacker's in my home. Well, where are you? I'm in my closet. I'm in the bedroom. I'm in the bathroom. I've barricaded the door. So that abusive husband who lives there, so he doesn't have to leave his home, can stay in the house. It doesn't mean he has to get through that room to get to you. Well, where are you? I'm on my phone right now. Well, do you have a weapon? I do, but I'm not going to shoot through the door at my husband. I've let him know that I'm going to stay right here and I'm going to call the police. So please, when you all get here, he's on the other side of the door. Just take him out the home. He might have a mental issue. He may be drunk. I might have cheated on him and he found out. Whatever it is right now, I don't want to go to death. So what are my other options? The options are the ones you're going to create. This is my keychain. You all see it?
Yeah.
All right. Outside of everything else on my keychain, there are keys.
Right.
This is hard.
Mm-hmm.
This is harder.
Right.
You follow me?
Right. And so for people who can't see this, for people who are listening, Sylvester put his key between his fingers and made a fist. So the key is sticking out between his fingers.
I think many women already walk to their car with their keys like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's the
You
sad,
should.
that's the
That
sad
is
state of affairs, but I think women do that.
Absolutely.
They do, and they should. And they should also, while walking to the car, stop and look around it.
Mm-hmm.
Make it obvious that I am looking around my car. I'm looking around this parking lot. I'm looking through this parking deck. I'm looking to see who's coming at me.
Mm-hmm.
So now you know, yeah, you might be bigger, faster, stronger, but you're going to have a fight on your hands. Are you looking for those nice blue boxes that are on the walls where you can automatically call law enforcement? A cell phone in the hand while you're walking, and you're making it very, hey, yes, husband, girlfriend, yeah, I'm leaving Lennox right now. I'm walking to my car. Yeah, I'm getting in right now. I don't see anyone around me. Is it corny? Yeah. Can someone else hear that if they run up on you, the last thing that is going to happen is somebody else knows where I am? They're small deterrents, but it's, can I get in my car and get home?
Mm-hmm.
Then, of course, always, did you check your car before you got in it? I'm not good at that all the time, especially since one of my windows are tinted. I have to look around. You're not dealing with people who respect life.
Right.
You're dealing with cowards. You're dealing with, I'll use the term, small men.
Mm-hmm.
You're dealing with people who don't care about you when they know they have to fight. You ever seen a lion trying to take down an elephant?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it takes about 12 of them. And after a while, they're like,
Right.
look. But once a few of them get stomped and they realize I might be able to eat this elephant, but my ribs are gone, let's go attack that gazelle, that short one over there that won't fight back. They're looking at you as prey. Lions don't go around jumping on tigers.
Sylvester, one of the things that you say is that you approach all of your teachings from the aspect of love. A lot of people would say, hey, but you're teaching fighting and guns, and how is that love?
And the first person you should love is yourself. Period. I love me more than I love you. You love yourself more than you love your children. Your children love themselves more than they love you. I'm certified from ACERT, which is the Atlanta Community Emergency Response Team, which is a division of FEMA. And they started it from after 9/11 to teach people how to work in emergency situations. One of the things they drilled into us was, you are the most important person in any situation. I didn't want to hear the mothers in the room immediately like, my kids. I mean, it was immediate.
That's where I
And
would
they
go to.
said, exactly. And they did. And it was, well, if you're not there to protect, then who's going to protect them?
That's true.
Your mask on first. So the love, and I won't be long winded on this part. African Americans and guns. Black people didn't have guns for war. They had guns for food and protection. That's it. They were hunting food and they were protecting themselves from people trying to kill them, usually the Klan. Having that firearm was love because I want to stay alive and I want to feed my family.
Right.
Then it turned into something where over time, guns started being looked at differently. Rifles started being looked at different. I want anyone that I'm training with to love themselves so much that they're taking care of their mental capacity, they're taking care of their physical capacities, they're taking care of their community so that I don't have to think, oh man, these kids are walking down the street, they're finna break into a car. I'm thinking, these kids are walking down the street. They must have got to school early to go to their work program because that's
Mm,
the only reason for 5 Black guys we wait right now. That's how I see my people
right.
until I'm shown otherwise. Oh, that's old man Jim. He doesn't like Black people. Yeah, he doesn't. But he also can't take his trash can back up to the street because his leg is messed up. It's not going to hurt me to move the trash can off the sidewalk so he doesn't get fined. It has nothing to do with him being racist and me being anybody else. Is can I do that much? If you start with that
Mm,
aspect of love, let's teach CPR to everyone here because why not? Why wouldn't every person in every home know CPR and how to use an AED and first aid? You'll use that before you use a gun. Why don't the police officers come from our community so that they went to these high schools and they know who has a drug problem? They know that old man Johnson who lives on the bridge is a wino, but he ain't hurt nobody, so we don't need to chase him down. Like that's when the community starts building amongst itself, and that love starts being shown because it's gonna go both ways. When that cop pulls me over, it's not some dude who just wants to mess with me. That's somebody I might have went to high school with, or who graduated with my son. Okay, what did I do? Here's my ticket. All right, thank you. I'm gonna fight this. Yeah, you are, but my job is to give it to you. Those things can be done.
You brought up other classes, and I know we've talked about guns a lot. You have other classes that focus on other kinds of personal safety. You brought up CPR. You also have classes about if you get hurt or shot, how do you stop the bleeding so that you can stay alive
Yeah,
until help arrives? Which I see
the
all of this as more of what you're talking about, love and community and other ways to stay safe. So can you talk about some of those
mhm.
other classes that you offer?
Yes. Any person that wants to take a firearm class, I'm going to eventually make it mandatory, but right now just push taking a CPR first aid AED class. That's for whatever reason you are not breathing, your heart is not working properly, and it's not working at all actually. So you start keeping that person alive until EMT fire show up. It's not like TV. You don't blow into their mouth and all of a sudden they cough up the water. It is I cut myself making biscuits or in the kitchen and I don't know how to stop the bleeding that's happened. It
Mm,
is I went on a hike and I fell and I snapped a bone or a limb went through my leg. That happens. It's another aspect of who's going to get to me in time before I die. And if I can start working on myself or help someone else, they can stay alive longer. We would have had more people alive after 9/11 if every person over there knew first aid and CPR. Everybody would have been helping keep someone alive while keeping people out of situations which would kill them, which is
mhm,
what emergency operation comes into. The stop the bleed, start to breathe is really there's some blood coming out of your body that you are not able to stop just by putting your hand on it. What do you do next? Knowing what to do next is what keeps you alive long enough. Knowing who to call, seeing that someone's choking and it's not oh, let me record it, or is there a doctor in the house? No, what can you do? I love myself enough to know that I got a swimming pool. What boundaries am I making around it with instruction to the kidhood, to my own children, that this is how we're going to do this? Do a first aid kit available anywhere?
mm,
Like I'm not pointing fingers at y'all, but is there one in your car? Where is the one in your home? At your job, can they show you the AED? Those are like my favorite classes to teach. If you ever want to get a good, fulfilling laugh, watch some old lady get down on her knees and ask for somebody to come help her get back up after she's done her 30 compressions and 2 breaths. Like, she's like, "Come help me up, baby. Did I get my certificate? Here you go." It's a beautiful thing. The class I'm doing now is a home defense class. One of my friends challenged me to do it, and the home defense course is the preparation that you take in your home to keep threats out. And then what do you do once a threat gets inside? We talked about guns a lot. If you have a gun and you've never shot it, you're at a discredit to yourself. You don't even know if it worked. If you have a gun and you don't know how to shoot it properly, you again are at a discredit to yourself. When I have people that I'm more comfortable with in a more mature group, I'll tell them having a gun is almost like sex. If you have made the spiritual and physical and mental decisions to make that choice to do it, then you need to know the consequences of it, what precautions you've taken to make it more safe for yourself, and what else is going to happen to me after all of this goes down. If you haven't done all those things, you're not ready to shoot.
That is awesome.
Yeah. Wow. God, I've learned so much today. This is pretty awesome. Go
I
ahead,
have
Jen.
one last question. Well, I have two actually. On your Instagram, you have been tying knots like crazy. Why are you tying knots?
Rope therapy. I do a lot of camping and hiking, and at times you need to secure your tent properly. And I'll be making these knots and either couldn't get them apart or they weren't working right. And I'm like, man, this is why do I keep doing this wrong? Came across some people who knew how to tie knots, or I would ask, "Hey, tie such and such knot," and I'm like, I don't know how to do that. So I started learning. It keeps your hands busy as well. The rope play with the lacing, with the more mental training that comes into, I want to be able to do this when I need to. Now, practical application. Can I use this to tow a car? How many kids fall down in wells or in ditches? I broke my bag at the airport. I took a string out and tied it back together with a knot that would actually hold up. How many times you seen a mother off and wrap it around her baby, tie her baby to them securely and keep moving?
Yep.
That's tying a knot. That's all it is. But now it goes from, is this pretty, to is this practical? And why can't it be both?
Okay, and I have one last question, and then you go, Raquel. How did your nickname become Coda?
Kodachrome is 2 parts, actually. Simon and Garfunkel have a song called Kodachrome.
Yep.
And it's one of my favorite songs about film. Simon and Garfunkel is one of my favorite bands too. Actually, that wasn't Simon and Garfunkel. It was just Paul Simon. He did that one on his own album. Anyway, nerd stuff. That was part of it. Instagram had just started, and you had to pick a name. And Instagram was about, at that time, nothing but taking pictures and posting pictures. So I used Kodachrome. The 3x5 is from a John Mayer song, which is about taking pictures as well. So I put the two together and I got Kodachrome 3x5. Because a 3x5 is the size of a Polaroid.
Yeah. Cool.
I like it. You
Thank
know,
you.
I have to say, I really appreciate how much you talk about being mentally prepared when talking about personal safety.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for bringing that into the conversation. I really appreciate
Thank you. I train how I was trained, and I thank you for that. I never want to walk around in the state of paranoia that something's about to happen. Something's about to happen. Oh no, all the doors locked, all the windows down. What do we do? I also don't want to be in a state of something happened. I don't know what to do, because
Right.
I never thought that it could happen either to me or I haven't prepared for it.
I really appreciate that, because I come from the stance of assume good intent until, but I'm not super prepared. I guess I haven't felt super confident in being prepared. So I really appreciate this conversation in helping me to feel more comfortable. I learned how to use a generator, and I had my first successful power outage that I took care of myself in my home. I have to tell you how empowering that is. So I think I really love that aspect of the work you're doing is, yes, assume the good intent, but I really have fallen short on that preparation area. And as a woman, I would like to get stronger in that. I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's beautiful. I love anytime I taught a bunch of emergency prep, and have what you need when you need it. So having that generator, I know how empowering it can be to be like, I have a flashlight and you're in the dark and I'm not a liability right now. It's beautiful. Quick tip for you and anyone who listens to this: before you leave tomorrow in your car, get up 30 minutes earlier and check your spare tire or your donut Make
Mhm.
sure it's full of air, and make sure you have everything that is needed to change a tire. Make sure that the last time you got your tire changed, they didn't keep your lug nut, your lug wrench by mistake. These are the things that you're gonna be on the side of the road like, oh, I can change a tire, and then don't have the material to do it.
Smart.
I want to make it home. All I want to do is make it home. I can figure out the rest later.
I like that. Make it home. Make
Make
it
it home.
home. So for people who don't live in Atlanta and can't take your classes in person, do
Mhm.
you offer any of the classes online?
Yes, I'm building out the virtual options. The emergency prep classes can be virtual. Firearms classes, in some ways, especially safety
Mhm.
classes can be virtual. The home defense class that I'm doing now, I think I'm doing the first 15 people for $50. That was one of the challenges I was given, so I extended it. And that is something that is a virtual class for those who don't live here.
I like where this is going, that you're going to have the
Hmm.
opportunity to reach more people and help more people become more prepared, more safe, and learn to get home safe.
Get home safely. If you're driving to the gas station and there's people standing around the gas station and you don't feel comfortable, go to the next gas station. Why even risk saying, they look unsavory?
Yeah,
They'll be all right. You know
yeah.
what? You are going to be all right. And I am too.
I always say you go with that gut feeling on those kind of
Hmm.
things. Your gut's telling you something's not right. It's probably not right.
Last woman I dated, we went on a date and I was like, who knows where you are right now? She's like, what do you mean? Have you told anybody that you are with me? Not you're with the guy. You are with me, and this is where we're going. And we laughed about it for a while, but she called her friend and told them. But in my women's self-defense class later on, I said, if you can't have a guy say, yes, this is my address, this is my license plate, and you plan to be home at 1 o'clock, if you decide to stay over, you can, but these are the plans we're having, and he has a problem with it, end the date.
Move on.
Yeah, that's important.
The last time I went on a date, my oldest daughter said, send me your location as soon as you get there.
There's nothing wrong with that person knowing that, hey, somebody knows where I am. That
Yeah.
might be I was gonna do something stupid, but they know where you are right now. Maybe I shouldn't. Or you know what? Tell them where you are and tell them how to get here. Let me go ahead and make this date even better. Give your daughter my number as well, just in case your phone goes dead. Why not?
Yeah, that would go a long way to set someone's mind at ease, actually.
Hmm.
So many good things to think about.
Thanks for giving me an audience, one, and for listening to my ideas. Each one teach one. The things that I know are from things that people have taught me. I'm happy to share it with others.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. And of course, we will put all of your
Mm.
contact info in the show notes so people can reach out to you and follow you and learn all the things. We need to stay safe and we need to get home safe.
Get home safe, always. Always.
Yeah. Thank you, Sylvester.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for listening today. We will be back with more Madness Cafe next week. You can find us on Instagram at madnesscafepodcast or email us at madnesscafepodcast@gmail.com. Bye.